In the last couple of days, the USGA and R&A, together with the PGA Tour and DP World Tour, effectively paused their long-planned golf ball rollback. The original phased rollback that would have hit elite players in 2028 is gone. We're now looking at a single implementation date no earlier than January 2030, while they reassess because the current proposed changes to the overall distance standard may not even deliver the distance reduction they intended. Driving distances on the PGA Tour have risen roughly 25 yards over the past 2 decades. The governing bodies argue this threatens shot variety, course strategy, and the long-term character of the game. But what if the real issue isn't the ball traveling too far? It's that the system has been set up so that lengthening courses and stretching difficulty became the default response to technological progress. Today we're going to examine the underlying dynamics, the player feedback, and why this rollback risks treating a symptom while leaving the deeper structural problem untouched. Okay, so some quick context. The original plan was to tighten the testing conditions for the overall distance standard. For elite play, the goal is to bring the maximum driving distances down by something in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 yards for the longest players, with a later rollout to the rest of the game by 2030. The June 2026 statement changed the timeline and quietly admitted uncertainty. Stakeholders preferred a single date over a phased approach, and there's now an open discussion that the proposed testing adjustments might not achieve the intended effect. Other options are back on the table. This isn't the rollback being abandoned, but it is being rethought because the first version of the fix might not work as cleanly as hoped. The stated goals of preserving shot-making variety, avoiding the need for ever longer courses, and maintaining the strategic character of the game sound reasonable. The deeper question is this: what incentive structure produced the distance increase, and what second-order effects will follow from trying to restrain only one part of that system? Distance gains have come from multiple interacting factors: stronger and fitter athletes, better training methods, improved course conditioning, and equipment evolution. When these forces push distances higher, the common institutional response has been to lengthen courses and maintain them at maximum difficulty. That response is not neutral. It shapes how the game is played, how courses are designed and renovated, and what kind of skills are rewarded. Rolling back the ball while leaving those design and conditioning incentives largely in place risks creating a new equilibrium in which the same underlying pressure simply reappears in different forms. The players who compete under the rules have highlighted uneven effects that go beyond simple distance loss. World number 1 Scottie Scheffler was reportedly one of the loudest voices in player meetings with the USGA. He has said he agrees with some of the principles behind addressing distance, but warned that a modest rollback would affect players very differently depending on their swing characteristics. Some might lose only a few yards, while others will lose significantly more. That uneven impact changes the competitive balance in ways that are hard to predict in advance. Bryson DeChambeau has been more direct in his criticism, pointing out through testing how much performance a rollback ball removes even at the elite levels. When top players across different swing profiles and body types are flagging fairness and adaptation problems, it signals that the change will not be felt uniformly. Some players and playing styles will absorb the adjustment more easily than others. That distributional reality is an important unseen effect of any equipment rule change. Now, on the surface, this seems like a problem in golf, but this pattern is actually familiar from other attempts to control outcomes by limiting one variable while leaving the broader incentive structure intact. Consider rent control. When housing becomes expensive, the most direct political response is often to cap what landlords can charge. The visible problem is high rents, yet the deeper drivers are usually restrictions on new supply, like zoning rules, community opposition, and regulatory hurdles that make building difficult and slow. Capping prices without expanding supply tends to produce predictable adaptations. Landlords invest less in maintenance, new construction slows, and existing tenants have less reason to move even when their circumstances change. Over time, the policy can reduce both quantity and quality of housing available. The golf ball rollback follows similar logic. Distance has increased because of multiple parts in a system that are just responding to the incentives in front of them. The most common institutional response to those gains has been to make courses longer and more punishing. Capping the ball addresses the visible symptom without substantially altering the incentives that favor length and maximum difficulty as the primary tools for protecting par. Manufacturers will adapt, players will adjust, courses may respond with tighter fairways, firmer conditions, or new ways to increase effective difficulty. Whether these adaptations actually restore the strategic variety the policy aims to protect or simply redistribute the same pressures is the more important and less certain question. Several less obvious consequences follow from this approach. Any rule change that targets only the ball creates pressure for substitution. If maximum distance is constrained, attention and innovation will move towards other performance dimensions. Think spin profiles, launch conditions, or short game equipment. Whether those shifts improve or degrade the overall quality of the game is not guaranteed. This change also falls unevenly across different levels. Recreational players are frequently told the impact will be small, yet they still face the equipment decisions and psychological effect of their balls becoming non-conforming over time. By focusing on distance as the primary problem, the approach can obscure the possibility that better strategic architecture, like narrower fairways that reward placement, hazards that create meaningful choices, and greens that demand creativity rather than just length, could have achieved similar goals without requiring a global equipment change. Many of the game's most admired courses already demonstrate this. Take Shinnecock Hills, the site of this year's US Open. It doesn't rely primarily on extreme length. Instead, it uses firm, fast turf, precisely placed bunkering, and holes that reward thoughtful shot selection and course management. Players who can shape shots and manage angles differently have an advantage over those who simply hit it the furthest. Courses built this way show that strategic difficulty can challenge elite players without turning the game into a pure distance contest. So, overall, the recent pause and reevaluation is revealing, and to me, I'm a little hopeful for it. Even the bodies that propose the rollback are now questioning whether the current version will deliver the intended outcome. Uncertainty points to a deeper truth, though. When you have to intervene in only one part of the system that has multiple interacting incentives and adaptation mechanisms, the results are rarely as clean and predictable as the initial analysis suggests. Golf's distance increase emerged from the interaction of many factors like athletic development training, conditioning, design choices, equipment. Addressing only the ball, while the incentive to lengthen courses and maximize difficulty remains largely intact, is a classic case of treating a symptom while the underlying structure continues to generate pressure in the same direction. The more interesting question is not whether distance should be managed, but whether the tools we're reaching for actually change the game in the ways we intend, or simply shift the same pressure into new forms. What do you think? Is the rollback addressing the real dynamics at work, or is it another reactive adjustment? Let me know in the comments. Big thanks for making it to the end of the video. One quick word for our sponsor, Sacari Golf. They're a great GPS golf app, up and coming, still in beta, but they are ELO based, so not handicap based. You can play rounds with your friends. You can join up, play duo or squad matches. The app is super personalizable. I really enjoy using it. Click this link or use this QR code, and you should be able to join my creator league as well, which would be pretty cool to have some of you guys play up against each other. So have a good one.